Welcome back. We continue our conversation with Gloria Haldef and Ryan Petty, who are running for 2 seats on the Broward School Board. Lori's daughter, Alyssa, and Ryan's daughter, Elena, are among the Parkland shooting victims. Let's continue our conversation. One of the things that, Lori, you described yourself as a stay-at-home soccer mom, but you were also a teacher for a number of years. I guess before you had Alyssa. You taught schools for about 5 years, correct?
Correct. I was a health and physical education teacher for 5 years. And in my 5th year, I taught at a school for children with special needs, and I also have my master's in education, too. So
this isn't completely foreign territory for you.
Correct.
Most undervalued people in any district are usually the teachers, correct? Is that the way you feel?
I value my children's teachers very much, and unfortunately, especially here in Florida, they are not paid what they should be paid, and they're not valued as much as we should be valuing our teachers.
So let's talk about some of the decisions that you would have to make as a member of the school board. Let me start with you, Ryan. Obviously, the superintendent serves at the pleasure of the board. Sure. Do you continue to have confidence in Superintendent Runcie, and would you continue to advocate for him being the superintendent of the school system?
Well, I think when I'm elected and on the board, what I want to start with is asking some very tough questions, because clearly we've had some breakdowns, as Lori mentioned, around discipline policies and kids falling through the cracks. So I want to make sure, regardless of who's the superintendent, I want to make sure that our kids are getting the quality education they deserve. The only way we're going to get there is by being transparent and accountable and driving accountability.
Are you concerned that hasn't been the case so far?
Clearly it hasn't been the case. But I will bring my private sector experience. I want to restore the school board to its proper role. It should be overseeing the administration. It should be holding the administrators accountable for delivery of a good education and safety and security. Students can't learn if they don't feel safe, and teachers can't do what they love if they don't feel safe. So we've got to make sure both feel safe and secure in our schools. The only way to get there is to drive transparency and accountability.
Lori, how do you feel about the job that Superintendent Runcie has done, and would you continue to support him as superintendent?
So I think there will be an investigation on him, whether he was right or wrong, and with holding him accountable is, if I am elected to the school board, I will hold him accountable, which would be my job as a school board member.
So let's talk about the Promise program. We were talking a little bit about it during the break. The Promise program was designed to try to avoid the idea of saying that every offense, even minor ones, should be dealt with in the criminal justice system, that there are other ways to deal with that. In concept, I think you both agree. You're nodding. I think you agree that that's a good idea. But do you think the Promise program in its implementation has gone off the tracks here in Broward? Gloria, I'll start with you.
Sure. So I agree that we should give kids second chances, but what has happened is we've gone to the two extremes. We've gone to over-disciplining the kids to not disciplining the kids, which we have here now. And unfortunately, we need to change that, and we need to meet somewhere in the middle. And currently, that's not happening. Our kids are not being disciplined. They're getting a little tap on the hand. They're getting in-school suspension. And guess what they're doing there? They're planning their next fight with their peers.
Ryan?
Clearly, the programs aren't working for the students that need that second chance. And as Lori said, we both agree we need, every child needs a second chance. So. Clearly, we learned this last week that Cruz fell through the cracks. He was referred to the program, never showed up. So
yeah, but he was referred to the program in middle school for a vandalism case. Yep. It's more interesting to me what happened in the later years in terms of him being passed from one organization to another.
Well, what's interesting about it, though, Jim, is he was referred but never went. Right. So he didn't get the benefit of the program. And I'm concerned that we've got kids that fall through the cracks like Cruz did that end up harming others, killing others. but also there are students that could benefit from those programs that clearly aren't benefiting because they're not even attending the programs.
Let me go to another area that obviously every school district in the state can now decide whether or not they want to go ahead with the program of arming individuals on school grounds themselves. Mm-hmm. What is your position when it comes to? It's not really arming teachers. Some teachers would, but it'd be other folks as well. What's each of your positions when it comes to arming staff on the school grounds? Let me start with you, Ryan.
Yeah, I think teachers should teach, and we ought to let law enforcement enforce the laws.
I 100% agree with Brian. And when law enforcement, when it's their duty to act and to respond to a shooter, it is their job to go in there and do that.
Are you satisfied with the job that the Broward Sheriff's Office has done in terms of supplying community resource officers to the schools? Lori?
Currently now, you're saying?
Yeah.
So the schools currently now have overwhelming support of school resource officers now. For Parkland schools, but for all the other schools, I don't think that's necessarily happening.
All right.
Clearly, I supported SB 7026, and one of the things we did there was provide more funding for additional resource officers. Clearly not enough on campus. You look at a campus like Stoneman Douglas where the shooting occurred. Large campus, 3,200 students, clearly not enough resource officers there. So I've been very active, and we as families have been very active in pushing for more resource officers in our schools.
Was there a security committee that had met among Parkland to try to recommend improvements to the school that were ignored? Are either of you aware of that was taking place within the school itself?
I haven't heard about that.
Well, I think there's a lot of organizations that are out there that are trying to have different suggestions for security measures to go into the schools. I've started a nonprofit organization called Make Our Schools Safe, and we're trying to make schools safe for all kids in all schools. The first thing that needs to occur is a threat assessment to the schools, and that's about an 85-page document on how to make the schools safe. And then that threat assessment is given to the board, and then it's their job then to now try to implement those strategies and those suggestions.
Just the final thoughts that you both have as you're going through this process. What do you want the voters in Broward County to know most about you?
I want to know that I care about our kids, and I care about our teachers, and I want to make sure that they get the education they deserve. Every child that goes to school in Broward County deserves to reach their potential. The only way they're going to do that is if they get the education they deserve. And to get there, we've got to drive transparency and accountability.
Lori, real briefly, I'll let you. What do you want the voters to most know about you at this point?
That I'm listening, that I'm hearing that they're scared to send their kids to school. And I'm going to make sure that the schools are safe.
Lori, Ryan, thank you very much. It's a long campaign, but I appreciate you taking the time, especially on this difficult day. Thank you very much for coming in. All right, up next, Senator Marco Rubio raised eyebrows with some recent comments questioning whether the corporate tax cut is helping working people. You'll hear what Senator Rubio has to say when we come back.